Which one do you have? Which agenda do you have?
Here. Look, this one, that's the one.
This one?
Yeah.
This is the updated one?
Yeah. This is the.
Okay. Are we planning on doing anything with personnel actions? Voting on anything today?
There's a bunch, yeah, there's a bunch.
There's a bunch of them. Yeah.
No, I know that, but this is, we're also voting on the TDA today,
Yeah, the salary.
the salary schedule.
Yeah.
So-
Although I didn't see it in the packet.
No, I didn't either.
Well, it's not in the packet.
Actually, you know what?
What's that?
TDA is in the back.
Other than. Just paid.
Is Maya gonna join us?
Yeah, she's supposed to be here.
I think it would prove to be beneficial if the new director starts on 18th. She starts on the 18th.
Yeah, I talked to her.
We're not to do this today if we want to. You know, but
It's in there.
it'll save.
Right here. Effective January.
I mean, it will save HR, it will save us, it will save a lot of time. We got a lot of issues.
Yep. Who do we have on the line?
David Smith, good morning.
Good morning.
Kristen Rogers.
Morning.
Morning.
We live?
Yeah, I don't think we have anybody else in the phone.
Don't see if we're live on
Oh.
that. Actually. Good. Do you want to address the change? And go over the-
Sure. Commissioners, two additions, changes to the agenda that was not previously posted online. One item will be presented by Lauren Bauer, change to the bail release officer's payment for on-call from 3 hours pay to 6 hours per day. And that'll be salary board action 3.3. And then Krista McLaughlin will be presenting a CDBG public hearing for FY, I'm assuming that's 2022, community development block grant funds with a public hearing, and that'll be 5.0 to 5.3 under CDBG.
Do we have Lauren on the line? Lauren. Do we have Kristen on the line?
I don't have Kristen's number. I'm assuming she's gonna call.
Okay,
Well, do you want a motion to approve the change to the
Yes.
agenda? Okay, I'll move to approve the change to the agenda as read by the director.
I'll second.
all fair say aye?
Aye.
Aye, so carried. Okay, this time we'll have the opening prayer and the pledge of allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, you are the Alpha and the Omega. Your days are without a beginning and without an end. We know our lives are a speck in the infinity of time. We pray that we'll be fruitful with our days. May your grace provide us with your needs, that we will be met. Let us be bountiful, share our blessings with love. This year we pray for wisdom in our decisions. Help us to gain relevant information, share with each other, wisely evaluate our options, demonstrate initiative and innovative ideas as we brainstorm these solutions. And then we ask you to help us become unified in making the best possible decisions. This year we pray for unity. We are all uniquely different, but made in your image. There are times we have different opinions, which is a good thing. Let us listen politely as others share their point of view. Guide us to work as a whole for the body, to function rather than act as individuals trying to promote their will. Give us a spirit of unification. Lord, we pray for restoration and recovery. We pray that you'll restore our businesses, schools, and lives from this horrible virus. May we show your love to help our neighbors that are in need to recover. Lord, we know that the new year is full of resolutions. Many are broken due to lack of planning and direction. You are the builder and creator of all things. We ask us to guide us in our meetings, that our resolutions are to develop effective strategies that will move our county in the direction that is in accordance with your will. Assist us towards the most effective methods to implement and accomplish what your will is for our county. Help us to leave each day with a sense of accomplishment and be inspired to return the next day with motivation to work even harder with great enthusiasm as we try to accomplish more as servants for our constituents, and above all you, gracious and loving God. These things we humbly present to you as we enter a new year. We ask for your mercy and grace. In your name, amen. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Want to get rid of the house. Right.
The overall.
Those are,
Because it's built.
that's what we're talking about, that's not.
Yeah, that's not.
Good morning. At this time, we'll convene the Commissioners' public meeting and ask for approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All fair say aye?
Aye.
Aye, so carried. At this time, we'll have public comment on agenda items only. Hearing none, we'll move on to operations 1.6.
Okay, County Department Informational Series, what they do for you, Penn State Extension.
Are they with us in the line? We can reschedule them.
Yep.
Actions.
I know Lauren said that she was interviewing today, so I'm not sure if she'll, I don't think she'll be present.
We are short-staffed at the HR department right now. And if that's the case, then we'll go ahead. Just kidding.
Yes. Matt? Is anybody going to be doing the HR things, or are you want to do it? Okay. No problem. Thank you. Yep. Okay. TDA actions. In the sheriff's office, the addition of one part-time temporary sheriff, special projects position, pay grade 6, limited to 250 hours. In the register and recorder, addition of one full-time clerk 3 position, pay grade 4. And in the district attorney's office, removal of one full-time assistant county detective position and the addition of 3 part-time assistant county detective positions.
Okay, have a motion.
I'll move to approve the TDA actions.
A second.
Discussion.
So, in the sheriff's department, we have an employee who's been with us for, I think, 33 years, who's retiring, and it's, obviously, there's a massive amount of institutional knowledge that can't just get transmitted by having a new person step in. It isn't as though you're just driving a car.
She handles all the financials of the sheriff's.
Right, she handles all the financials. So this part-time position is to really just make sure that we have a seamless transition, and it gives an opportunity for that person to be able to transmit to the new full-time person the information. As a practical matter, we also have to, although the person's been selected, we have to actually have the transfer happen for the new full-time person, which we can't have happen because we need them in another department. So the long and the short of it is that this person will be part-time, will not be getting benefits, but will be a tremendous help. And actually, we thank employees for doing this, because sometimes after you get into your mind, after working for 33 years, that you'd like to move on, to simply go back and stay is oftentimes giving a lot. The register and recorder, this is not going to cost us a lot of money, because the person we have there now, we're getting through a temp agency, and I think we calculated
It's
that
actually cheaper to hire.
it's actually less expensive to hire them, because the money we pay for the temp fee will actually cover the pension and the health care.
We have Mr. Huffman here. Mr. Huffman, would you like to state anything regarding the position? You come up to the,
Oh, okay. Let's go to the sheriff.
no, he went on to talk about the registry. Just briefly, Dave,
Okay,
you come up to the podium and
very brief.
state your name and what you're in charge of.
David Huffman, Register and Reporter. Good morning, everyone. No, this position is definitely a very important position that we truly need. When I first came on board, one thing that was impressed upon me was how important we needed to look at the back scanning. Now, in our terminology here, what back scanning means is getting the data that we have from our office into our software program so that it's available for the public and others to see it. And we were really behind when I came on board. And we did a calculation that early last year that it would take 2 years just to complete the back scanning project if one person worked on it full time. So not only that, but we had determined that for a Class 5 county, and I compared Lycoming County to the other Class 5 counties, we are about 2.5 people, we operate with about 2.5 people less on average. So, I mean, that's a good deal for the county, very good deal for the county, and we have good people that are able to make up that difference with the productivity that we have. But we certainly, compared to other counties, need an extra person. And lastly, we have an extra federal mandate that's in place with Real ID, and that requires that we do certified copies for mayor's licenses. And we get these requests from not only all over the country, but sometimes from different parts of the world to do these certified copies. And in a normal year, you might get a request for about 30 of these. And there's a stack sitting on my desk in my office that is about this high from certified copies that we've done just in the last few months. So it's getting to the point leading up to this deadline in May of 2023 that you can almost have a full-time person just handling those certified copies. Again, federal mandate for Real ID when people change their names. So I can say I appreciate, very much appreciate this approval of this extra position from the commissioners and also from the people of Lycoming County, which, you know, you're a big part of us and in making things happen in our office, and we'll be able to give better service as a result. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Dave, I'm gonna go back to when I first came in as a commissioner, and there was nothing scanned. It was, and as you went over there and looked at the books, and with the gas industry moving in, we paid companies $169,327. We paid companies a lot of money to come in and start scanning our materials, our registers. And it proved to be beneficial because you do collect fees online, or at least you did. And we split some of the profits with those companies, and I believe we still do. But it was just a small portion of what needed to be scanned. And so when you take the extra work that this individual is going to have, you know, that scanning probably won't be complete for another 7, 8, 9 years.
Exactly.
So,
He's been diligently working on it, but because we've been short-staffed due to various reasons, he's only been working on it about 2 hours a day. But once we get back to full staff, maybe a half a day.
it also really helps our realtors, our attorneys. You can stay in their office and do their work right from the computer. So understand the importance of it. I appreciate the work you're doing over there, and tell your staff we do as well.
Thank you. I think it's a benefit all the way around.
And as Commissioner Marabito stated, it's cost effective for us to hire full-time compared to keeping them on as a temp due to the hourly wage he was being paid.
It's a good point. And we have a good person, too.
Yes, he's very dedicated. They've done a great job.
And they've been trained. I mean, they're all trained. It's not like there's even a time coming up to speed. They're just gonna keep going.
Okay, and then the district attorney, you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, well, the district attorney asked us to make this change and to accommodate his needs, and so we've done that. It actually ends up saving money because we don't pay pension and health care.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried. And at this time, we'll recess the Commissioners' public meeting for the salary board. We'll convene the salary board at this time.
Okay, seeking your approval on the 2020 salary schedule.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I'll second
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
it.
Aye. See, then we want discussion.
The salary, on the salary schedule, the
Yeah,
employees
I'm sorry.
received a 2.5% increase.
I think we're adding these positions.
Oh, to the salary.
Yeah,
we're at it, so we
Got
have,
you.
we have
Okay.
sheriff addition.
Yes, so we're going to, in the sheriff's office, add the one part-time temporary sheriff special projects position, pay grade 6, limited to 250 hours. We're going to add in the register and recorder's office, the one full-time clerk 3 position, pay grade 4. And in the district attorney's office, we're going to remove the one full-time assistant county detective position and add 3 part-time assistant county detective positions.
Okay, and then from Krista, I believe we don't have to address with the salary board the on-call, or would you prefer us to?
I would not, because we, as salary board, don't have a right to make a policy. We could ratify it once you pass it.
Why don't we include it and then you ratify it, if it's okay?
So, my motion would be that we ratify the change to the policy as listed, once the commissioners approve it.
I would be in favor of that.
Yeah, I'm okay with
Okay, go ahead. So you're gonna revise your motion?
Well, are we voting on the salary schedule first? Because we do need to vote on that annually with those
Yes.
additions.
Okay.
Yes.
And I mean, that, I can change my motion to state with the additions as read.
Yes, could you change your motion?
Yes. So I'm moving to approve the salary schedule for 2022 with the additions as read.
Okay.
I'll
Second.
second that.
All fair side?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, that salary schedule is our entire TDA. Okay, and by law, solicitor, please correct me if I'm incorrect. We are required by statute to every year, certain date, beginning of January, present to the public our TDA, cable distribution. And
What I understand, Commissioner Massar.
yes,
And we will approve that later as a motion.
yes, and yes, but I'm just setting the table. Beyond that action, everything that's below it in personnel actions are not needed to be placed on the agenda whatsoever, providing that we give all our salaries, people, and media the TDA schedule. And with, the shortage of staff, this is a lot of work that goes into it. And all these positions are approved during the budget. Anything that's added to the TDA must go through the salary board anyway, and a range of their pay. And I will today or next week be asking to eliminate some of the work for the HR department and go back to where it was without having to deal with this every week.
So I just have to respectfully disagree.
Yes.
I think that, well, first of all, really the issue comes down to, are we gonna list the name of the office, the name of the person, the job title, and the pay that they receive? And so I think for the purpose of transparency, like the school districts do, that it's important for the public to be able to see what we're paying. It is work, there's no question, Commissioner, you're correct. But the reason why I don't think it's repetitive is that, for example, the new person who is in the prison, the correctional officer, right? That's a new person, and they happen to be hired at the starting rate of $17.90. But the person who we hired as the Director of Human Resources, Jessica Seagraves, she didn't necessarily come in at the beginning of pay grade 13, I don't believe. So I think there is something to the benefit that's gained by having the public be aware of what's going on outweighs the work that we're asking people to do.
Could I make a suggestion?
Yeah, well, let me just finish one comment. I made the, I don't know how many people know about Bell, California. Bell, California is a small town in California that never published what it was paying its employees. And somehow, they found out they were paying their director of administration $800,000 a year. Now, obviously, that's an extreme example, although it puts forth the point that the best way for the public to be able to stay on top of what's happening is for them to know. So, you know, I would hope that we would continue to do that. That's my hope for the new year, among others.
You publish that list monthly, so maybe not do it every meeting, but still publish that list monthly?
Yeah, we have it.
We do publish a report that we receive, Controller, from the Director of Human Resources monthly on all the new hires.
I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with that, Krista, as well.
Yeah. I mean, as long as it's out there. So here's the other reason why I really want to do it. I could see us getting a lot of right-to-know requests specifically on what people make. And I'd hate to, those take more time than the time it takes us to publish it. So, I mean, if it's a matter of you know, one form a month, we can see, we don't need to be repetitive. If that report is out there, we can look at that report.
Well, my suggestion is we have this discussion sometime this week and revisit next week.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to 3.3, vote to approve update to policy 407 and on-call salary details.
Did we finalize last vote? I don't think we did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Make a
4-0.
comment before we did?
4-0.
Yeah, I didn't comment. I waited, well,
Yeah,
we took the vote.
No, we took the
We-
vote on 3, but we
Yeah.
didn't do the personnel action.
No, we didn't do it on this. So we have it on the floor. We're in discussion. Any further discussion?
Further discussion on the item where we approved the salary schedule?
Yes, we
Yes.
did.
Okay. Can I just make a note to the minute that by moving to approve this, it's that statutory need to do it so our employees get paid, not an acceptance of the current standing of my office? Just for the record.
So noted.
Thank you. 3.3, can I make the motion that we ratify the policy change once the commissioners approve it? That this would be accepted as a ratification or however it needs to be worded?
Solicitor? Would that be acceptable?
Yes, Commissioner Metzger.
Okay. Do you want to make the motion, Krista?
Yes.
Could you please state it?
So I'm moving to approve the change to the policy listed as a ratification once approved by commissioners.
Okay. So motion second.
I'll second it as a
Okay.
ratification.
Further discussion?
Let me just make a note. The reason we're changing policy 407, well, there's 3 parts to it, right? So, in the process of trying to bring some equity to the coroner's office, we established an on-call pay change from 3 hours to $250 a week. In doing that, we learned that actually bail release officers are paid 3 hours, where the adult probation, juvenile probation, sheriff's office, and other the DA's office are paid 6 hours of pay. So to understand what on-call pay means is that when you're on call, you can't leave the area, you carry a beeper, you can't, you know, if you're sitting down to dinner, you can't have a glass of wine with dinner because you might get called out. I mean, basically your life is on hold. In the case of the coroners, they go out all the time. I mean, they're going out 24/7, as the other departments are, but we found that there's much more activity in the coroner's office in terms of people going out. And I don't know if my colleagues want to address the relationship with the 350 or, no.
No.
All right.
Commissioner,
I
just
don't know if
one
we-
clarification.
we don't have a conflict of interest because my husband does not receive on-call pay, just to be clear.
Okay, I was gonna ask that question, just to make sure that you were safeguarded on this one.
Thank you.
Yep.
And also, in addition to that, because Mr. Rogers is a member of a class that's being arguably benefited by this, that's another reason why there's no conflict.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just a point of clarification. APO, GPO, domestics, and the sheriff's office, district attorney, we are removing the language from policy 407 because that language currently exists in their bargaining unit agreements.
Thank you, you're absolutely right.
Okay, so, seeking your approval on the update to policy 407 and on-call salary details, which includes the removal of the following departments and on-call policy details: adult probation, juvenile probation, sheriff, district attorney, due to separate language within their respective union contracts. 2, change to coroner's office payment for on-call from 3 hours pay to $250 a week. 3, change to bail release officer's payment for on-call from 3 hours pay to 6 hours.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
To ratify that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we already have the motion and second?
Yep, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. And then to approve the changes, can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the change.
I move. I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. This time we'll adjourn the salary board and we'll reconvene the commissioners' public meeting. Thank you, Krista.
Yep.
More personnel actions.
Yep. Under personnel actions, approve the following personnel actions. In the sheriff's office, Christy L. Schimpf, temporary sheriff, special projects, part-time, new position, pay grade 6, $24.55 an hour, not to exceed 250 hours annually, effective 5 January 2022. In the sheriff's office, Eric T. Spiegel, chief deputy sheriff, promotion to pay grade 10, salary $60,231.73, effective 9 January 2022. In the sheriff's office, I'm not sure if that applies.
The sergeant position classification.
That's just what HR had provided me, so nothing had changed, at least she didn't notify me.
We'll approve it, but I think we've had some changes since then.
Okay.
Curtis? Yeah, I think that's what, absolutely.
Table that one.
Let's not put it in.
Motion to table it.
I'll move to table the item for the,
Sergeant classification.
I'll second
All in
that.
favor, say aye. Aye.
The table, the third line in the personnel action.
In the commissioner's office, procurement, Tina L.
Whiskey. I know.
Jed's
It's hard.
Ruiski.
Tina J.
Administrative specialist, full-time replacement, pay grade 5, $15.75 an hour, effective 9 January 2022. In human resources, Jessica M. Seagraves as director of human resources, full-time replacement, pay grade 13, $88,000 annually, effective 18 January 2022. In the prison, Christopher Treese as a correctional officer relief, full-time replacement, pay grade CO1, $17.90 an hour, effective 11 January 2022. in the Register and Recorder's Office. Daniel W. Hartman is Clerk 3, new position, $14.44 an hour, effective 5 January 2022. In the District Attorney's Office, Donald Barrett, Assistant County Detective, part-time replacement, pay grade, Assistant Detective, $23.66 an hour, not to exceed 1,000 hours annually, effective 10 January 2022. In Domestic Relations, Caitlin D. Corman, Domestic Relations Officer, full-time replacement, promotion, pay grade DRO, Domestic Relations Officer, salary $38,166.82, effective 9 January 2022.
I'd like to make a couple comments.
Hang on a second.
Okay.
Can I have a motion to accept the remaining personal actions on the agenda?
No, I'll move to approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
You've noticed over the past few weeks, well, maybe over the past 6 months, that we've had a number of temporary additions, temporary part-time additions to the TDA. And that has to deal with the lack of people coming in to apply for the jobs. And so, as Commissioner Maravita stated, just with the Sheriff's Department, we do appreciate these people that are retiring, such as Roxanne and Christine, and we can go on and on to stay, to train once the job position is full or filled, which is it's very difficult today to try to even get these positions filled. And then secondly, over this last Director of Human Resources, we saw a fundamental flaw within our own TDA as far as promoting from within. We're going to address this hopefully and come to a consensus that we're actually could be penalizing our people within that want to apply for the job. Because in certain positions, you're seeing out in the private market, these jobs are going for a lot more than what we're paying. And if they're trying to take the job from within, our policy states that you get a 10% pay increase. That's not comparable with what we have to pay. And so we need to address that. So our one person would have gotten a pay raise of $6,000 and put her at 60-some thousand, where we actually paid 88. Okay, it's a flaw, and we need to correct that when it comes to directors. And we will be addressing that shortly.
Yeah, I think what you're telling us, Commissioner, is that the current policy creates a disincentive for people who are qualified to step up and apply for a job that has a lot more responsibility because they're limited to a 10% increase under our policy. While we may go out and pay more than the 10% to hire someone from outside. That's what you're telling us. So, yeah, I think we need to look at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
For those director positions.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried. At this time, we will recess the Commissioners' public meeting for the Community Development Block Grant public hearing. Morning, Kristen.
Good morning.
Convening the public hearing at this time.
Happy New Year, Commissioners.
Happy New Year.
This public hearing is for...
Kristen, you just state your name for...
Sure, Kristen
record?
McLaughlin with Cedar Council of Government.
Thank you.
This hearing is for the Commissioners to take any public comment on a budget modification of South Williamsport Borough's federal fiscal year 2020 CDBG program. The South Williamsport Borough Council considered this action at their December meeting, and we're requesting that the commissioners take action since their contract does run through the county. What they are proposing to do is move $97,836 from their spot slumlight removal project to Habitat for Humanity acquisition. So they would be eliminating the spot slumlight in 2020 and moving that into, all of that into the Habitat for Humanity acquisition. They have other funding from 2019 in the spot slumlight, so they're not abandoning that project. They're still, as far as I know, intending to move forward with that, pending some legal issues with that particular property. And the Habitat for Humanity acquisition will acquire a number of a lot that has been combined and will be subdivided into 4 lots for Habitat for Humanity to build for homes for folks that are in their program over the next several years. So this is kind of the first step, the acquisition for that project. So at this point in time, I'd like to take any public comment on this budget modification.
Is there any online?
No, there is not.
Okay, hearing no public comment, you can recess the hearing and reconvene the regular meeting.
Can I ask you a quick question? What's
Absolutely.
the address for those lots?
They are on Clark Street.
They're the Clark Street project?
Yeah.
Okay, those Clark Street lots.
They're
Well,
right at the
that's-
end of West Central.
Right, I visited them.
It's-
That's
it's-
great news. We're gonna put 4 single-family homes there.
That is my understanding, yes. They've
Okay.
been working with Habitat to work out both how many they can fit there, what Habitat's workload is, and timelines to make sure that they're going to meet the CDBG deadlines to have people actually be moving in. But I'm really excited about this project. I think they, like I said, they decided, I believe, that they've been negotiating on how many lots they can fit in there, and I think 4 is what they've decided. And it's going to be great to get some folks over there into South Williamsport and some new homes. As you may know, there's been a lot of talk for a lot of years about what possible uses the Clark Street properties could be, could have. There was a lot of discussion about multi-unit stuff and elderly housing, but this seemed to make the most sense.
And many communities are stuck with boundary restrictions where they can't grow. And so the only way to get more money is to tax. Whereas you take a look at Loyalsock that has a tremendous area, and they're growing rapidly, and they keep their rates down low. This is a fundamental. We need to honestly look at how we're going to deal with this in the future for these communities. Very difficult, and especially if you see an elderly population or one that has limitations on economics and pay. So it's something that's, I'm sure, has been addressed to the state legislature, but we still have to, keep lobbying them to see if there's something that we can do.
And this is certainly an issue in Lycoming County with the number of boroughs and the number of boroughs that have significant portions in the floodplain or floodway, which really limits the ability, even if there are vacant lots, a lot of times they've been they're vacant because the homes were torn down due to flooding.
That's a good catch. Very good.
Yeah, and this is on a hill, so there's no issue there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
We'll turn the public hearing at this time, reconvene the Commissioners' public meeting. Go on action items.
Okay, 6.1, seeking your approval on Resolution 2022-03 to revise the table of distribution allowances and authorizations for 2022. The resolution simply reads, be it resolved that the table of distribution and authorizations hereto attached is approved for the calendar year 2022, duly adopted at a regular meeting held this 4th day of January 2022. and signed by the commissioners.
I think that we should make something very clear. There was a mistake that was found in the 2021 percentage of increase. It was an honest mistake, but nonetheless, it had to deal maybe with 20 cents or 30 cents an hour. And because of that, it's going to affect the 2022 budget. Not significantly, don't misunderstand me, but it will change it. And we're gonna have to correct that. I just wanted that noted, that if we're voting for the TDA.
So just so we're clear, this was one job classification. I don't want everyone to think that
But
they.
it was also,
So it was a contract,
in a
right,
contract.
it was one of our union contracts where they were getting a 2.5% raise. It affects possibly 15 people, and it's clear in the contract, it says they get 2.5%, but the written part, when you look at the hiring rate, instead of saying 17.90, or it says
20 cents
17,
difference.
20 cents.
But that-
So it's not, yeah, it's not a widespread, I just don't want the
No,
public to think.
it's not widespread,
Yeah.
but it.
But you're right.
It was a mistake
It
that
was a
was made
mistake.
by,
A typo.
I think it was the union.
Well,
Because
it
it
was
was
a
the
typo.
contract, it was a
right,
typo.
neither party recognized the
We didn't realize,
mathematical error.
Right.
so.
I just didn't want all the employees to think that their pay was off.
No, no.
Okay, so noted. And can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2022-03. I believe we actually approved it earlier in the meeting, but just to make things official,
Yep.
I'll move to approve the resolution that's titled 2022-03.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. This will sound kind of repetitive, but as an action item, vote to approve 2022 table of distribution and authorizations. And this includes, in the sheriff's office, the addition of the one part-time temporary sheriff special projects position, pay grade 6, limited to 250 hours. The addition of, in the register and recorder's office, one full-time clerk, 3 position, pay grade 4. And in the district attorney's office, the removal of one full-time assistant county detective position, and the addition of 3 part-time assistant county detective positions.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Director, at this time, I'd ask that we skip ahead to action items 6.9 and 6.10, out of respect for Mr. McLaughlin's time, that we can take care of her items at this time, so that she can move on with her day.
Okay, 6.9, vote to approve subrecipient agreement with West Branch Regional Authority, 2020, FY 2020 CDBG funds.
Commissioners, this is a agreement between West Branch Regional Authority and the county for their 2020, federal fiscal year 2020 sewer lateral program. We've been working with West Branch Regional Authority for a number of years in the areas that they serve. This is a regional program, so it will be open for people that need to have their sewer lateral reconstructed in Muncie Borough, Montgomery Borough, Clinton Township, and Muncie Creek Township. So it will cover quite a large area and a lot of population. They've been very good about, West Branch Regional Authority has a great program, and we've been able to help a lot of people through, mostly in Muncie and Montgomery over the last couple of years, but there are a lot of people slightly outside that area that also still need their lateral reconstructed. And that is in the amount of $136,560.
Can you repeat that amount, Chris? I'm sorry.
$136,563. Sewer lateral costs about $3,000 to $5,000.
This is another example. I mean, if the commissioners don't approve this, they don't get the funding.
Correct, yes. This is sort of the long process of
Right, it's a long
CDBG.
But,
Look back at, so page 48.
but,
Okay.
you know, we identified that area as our growth area.
Right there.
Um,
48.
Thank
The
you.
commissioners have certainly not just approved this program, but we approved a lot of revenue going towards that entire region. And we see it as being very beneficial. And I know for a fact that people are just, the developers are waiting for us to make that swap in the land so that they can develop that piece of property over there by the golf course.
Yeah.
Which will bring in not only jobs, it'll bring in a tax base for the government and the county.
And, you know, during my tenure here with working with Lycoming County, I know we've done sewer, in addition to Muncie, Montgomery, we've helped Antisport, we've helped Du Bois Town with Antisport working with Tda Valley Municipal Authority, Du Bois Town working with Lycoming County Water and Sewer Authority. There was a massive sewer lateral program that was done in South Williamsport Borough a number of years ago. So, I mean, there's been, gosh, it wouldn't surprise me if it was close to 500 households in Lycoming County.
And you have the difficult task of seeing how many people fall within, you know, the requirements.
Yes. Yeah,
Not easy.
there are income requirements, and it's difficult to, you know, when you have to tell someone, sorry, you're over the income limit. But these 3 to 5, that when you get a letter in the mail that says you have 90 days to fix your sewer lateral, and knowing that it's $3,000 to $5,000, and it's not even, there's no prevailing wage in that. That's the actual cost for digging it up and everything. So there's a lot of people that don't have that, that they can get it within 90 days. And oftentimes these are people that aren't eligible for loans through conventional means. So.
You may not know the answer to this, but is this, when you come down to the intersection where the Sunoco is, and you take a left on, I believe it's 54,
Okay.
do you know whether it's gonna cover that, like, first 3 miles into?
It would cover whatever, trying to think of where the boundary is there.
Yeah.
I'm really not quite sure.
It's okay, I'll call Kurt Hausman. I mean, it's a tough question to know exactly. There's a constituent who's called us a couple times, and I'd like to be able to get back to him on whether that's gonna cover it or not.
Yeah, and certainly West Branch Regional Authority knows who is,
Getting covered.
at least who has non-compliant laterals.
Right.
We've also had a conversation about new hookups. As you know, they are laying new lines in those particular areas, and we'll deal with that as it comes up.
Yeah.
But that is potential future, homeowners that are within the mandatory connection area that need to connect. That's an even higher cost.
No, that's okay, thank you.
Sure, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just not sure where that boundary is.
Kurt's done a great job over there with that.
Yeah,
He used
and
to be our
I-
director of planning, and now he's,
Yeah, and I've worked for years now with Bob Kaiser, who's just a great guy. He might not be telling his name, everybody knows, but he's behind the scenes doing a lot of work.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Page 6.10.
Vote to approve budget modification with Borough of South Williamsport, FY 2020 CDBG funds.
Commissioners, this is just finalizing the action that we had the public hearing on a few minutes ago to officially submit that document to DCED for approval to move those funds.
Okay, and the motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
Thank you very much.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And now,
Thank you. Should be on 6.3.
Commissioner seeking your approval to the update to Lycoming County Policy and Procedures Manual for the following policies. Policy 400, job code listing, policy 401, county pay plans, and policy 407, payment for on-call.
Okay, motion.
I move to approve.
All fair side?
Aye.
6.4, line 2.
Wait, Mike.
Oh, want me to go through all my items?
Yes, please.
You got a copy?
Yep. So the first one I have for you is to vote to approve the amendment to the financial assistance award for the Greater Williamsport Levy Rehabilitation Project. What they are doing is revising the start of the construction on October 17th of 2022, and also revising the end of the construction. This has to be at April 4th, April 24th of 2023. And then at the same time, the closeout period will then be extended to 120 days from now.
Have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all fair side?
Aye.
So carried.
The next item is to vote to approve resolution 2022-1. It's to declare surplus property. There's some property located, we have 5 generators that are no longer used or of value or necessary for Lycoming County 911 Center. So you'll see in the next action item, it's a memorandum of understanding where what we're doing a swap of equipment to help each other out. And so this is just the first part to declare that stuff surplus so that we can do that swap.
Okay, motion.
I'll move to approve.
Second. All fair side?
Aye.
So carried.
The next item is to vote to approve the memorandum of understanding with Luzerne County 911, as I alluded to. They have a need for these generators that they may be able to get some life out of to help them and assist them financially. So as a result of that, we will also be getting some transfer switches to us. So we're doing a swap of that, and we are in need of that, and hopefully that'll all work out. And of course, there's no cost to either of us to do that. We're just simply swapping equipment, no cost to each other.
Okay, a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Second. All fair side? Commissioner?
Oh, I said aye.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's it.
I said moved, I made the motion, right.
Okay, so aye?
Aye.
Okay, so carried.
And then my last item, sorry.
Go ahead.
Vote to approve PCCD grant need award for adult probation. This is the usual grant need that we get to help cover the cost of APO salaries for the correctional officers within the office. And I think Ed was here, or John.
Mr. Stoll's back there.
John's
John?
back there, to talk a little bit about if we've seen any increase in funding and kind of, if it's allocating more, which I can tell you it's not, but you can certainly say that, but we're still at that stagnant point where they're not fully reimbursing us, what's required by
By law.
Yes.
Yeah, it was set up to be 80% back in the 80s. I don't believe it's ever been at 80%.
No, not even since I've been here.
Yep, and when I was over there, it went from the 60s, it's down to what, 16%, 17%, John?
We have 18.
18%? Yeah, so it's,
Yeah, and it's dwindled. I mean, I think when I first started, it was at 30, and then I've seen it slowly just trickle. So.
and this is disappointing because one of CCAP's initiatives, one of their 5 initiatives for 2021 was to help increase probation funding across the state, and it didn't happen. So it's disappointing to hear that, along with mental health funding. That wasn't, it's been issues. I think mental health funding was definitely at the top of their list. And the APO funding was definitely, and it's not just our county, it's across the state. This is actually a law that has been ignored,
Yeah.
and it continues to affect the counties and their funding.
Well, and even more so now, I'm sure you can speak on that for the line of work that you did, but, I mean, we're seeing an increase in the need for them due to the pandemic and
Yep.
more visits that have to occur as a result of that.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, they've gone from pretty much about 95% office visits in the past to probably 80% to 90% field visits since the pandemic has hit. They went from 1,000 field visits to 4,000, which puts them more and more at risk for safety, and yet their funding doesn't get increased by the state. And what I have an issue with is it's a law that they've ignored.
Yeah, I'm just gonna add a couple things here to that as well. Is, they do shift, the state does shift the burden to the counties, and it's been doing it for a very long time right now.
This is an example.
And so counties have to make decisions. For example, we have 30 people being housed out of our county prison currently, correct? And that's $2,100 a day that the taxpayers are paying to house someone out of the county. And that does not include the sheriff's department, transportation, or medical. So counties, try to get creative and they create programs. And I can tell you, just like we did with the GEO program. It's not inexpensive by any means. I think the last report I saw, we were at $6.8 million that we paid to GEO so far. It might be $7 million now. But it also increases the staff's workload at adult probation. Okay, so we're trying to not incarcerate, get them help, change our philosophies, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think what's important is that we are a rural county, and you tell me if you get caught selling heroin on the street in Lycoming County, what is that? It's a felony? Right. In LA, it's a misdemeanor. You can go to jail. Okay, and so if you look at the pressure on the taxpayers, what's happening there is happening here. And our cost is continually rising. And we have to be, very careful and very concerned as to what responsibilities are the counties taking over that the state should be providing. Okay, because it is a lot. And as one of their representatives told us last year, count on less, because the state doesn't have the money. Well, that's kind of alarming, but, we have to do what's mandated.
And I'll tell you, from the grant side of things, I have been getting more notifications from the state agencies stating that, hey, we know you signed a grant agreement with us, but please know that it's subject to available grant funding from the state. It's always been in the grant agreements, that has always been there because it's standard language, but now I think they are really sending and making it a point to point that out. So to me, that's alarming. I actually got a couple of those and was going to notify you of those. I got those late last week as we start the new year. So that makes me wonder what's coming for 2022.
Well, what I have an issue with is when you have a probation department that supervises across the state, 81% of people released from county prisons and state prisons on special supervision. 81% of those defendants. And then you have a law that says they're supposed to be funded 80%, and it's being funded 18%. That's an issue. And they're ignoring the law. Yet they're doing the majority of the work.
That's kicking the can.
Yep.
It's actually 86%.
So it's gone up. Gone from 81% now to 86%.
247,000 offenders are supervised by county probation offices in comparison to 39,000 supervised by Pennsylvania Board of Probation and Parole.
So that's I left 3 years ago, going on 4 now,
Yep.
and the numbers continue to get worse. So 86% of the defendants are supervised by county departments, yet they get 18% funding. It's broke.
So you know what I think that, because I don't even know that it's on the radar of the state legislature to change it, but what they should look at possibly is saying, look, we'll do what we do with children and youth. If you run a really good adult probation office, and if you have certain matrix met, we'll increase your funding, like they do with children and youth. I think it's gonna be a tough sell to just get them to jump up to 80%.
It's never been at 8%.
No, I know, but I mean, to just get them to go from 18 to 80, but maybe what we could get them to do is to say, if you meet certain criteria, then we will give you a higher percentage. So then a county like ours that does a good job would be eligible for more money. Right now, it's basically just, I think maybe on a per capita basis or something, the formula.
I don't even know what they use.
I don't know what they use either, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I mean, what I see usually when I'm dealing with funding such as this for probation or any kind of law enforcement, is that, they base it off of crime reporting and all of that. There's no formula that I have to give them or any data that they use for this, other than just calculating the numbers every year, giving them the wages. Everything else, you just submit. But every other grant, like I said, that I do, they want to know actual reporting. They want to know population. They also want to know other things. So, again, there's just no consistency the whole way around. I mean, if you're due for one, I don't understand how that can't be the same.
Commissioner, I can say that the state has done that with respect to some of the other grant aid that counties receive.
Right.
Intermediate punishment grant being
Yes,
one of them.
yep.
They've, created criteria, which our county, we received the maximum allowed because we have all those things in place needed. And if that were to happen with this, I would say that we would be in really good shape as far as having all those different alternatives and things in place where if they were to look at that. So
And Commissioner, when I started back in '86, the caseloads were half of what they were now. When I had 1,200 people on supervision back then, and they were funding at about 65, 66%. Now the caseloads are doubled, and it's 18%. So their caseload's gone up, the funding's gone down. And like Deputy Director Stahl states, it's now at 86% of the overall population of inmates from county and state prisons. And that's why CCAP made it a priority in 2021 on their goals, but it did materialize. Okay, I have a motion.
I'll move to approve.
All in favor, say aye. Thank you, John.
Right.
Thank you, Chris, or Maya.
Action item 6.8, Commissioner is seeking your approval on an invoice for Hillside Catering. This is a 2021 budgeted item, and it's in the amount of $11,641. This is for the holiday luncheon for county employees. And this was provided at 5 different locations.
Do you have a motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Maya, I apologize, I was looking at Kristen when I
Oh,
called you.
no, that's okay.
I was looking at her when I called you Kristen.
Hey, that's fine, no worries.
Thank you.
Action item 6.11, Mark Haas.
Morning, Mark.
Morning. Mark Haas, Development Services Supervisor. As we previously discussed, our zoning ordinance and our subdivision and land development ordinance are in dire need of revisions. We would like to apply for a $100,000 grant through the Municipal Assistance Program of the Department of Community and Economic Development. This grant requires a 50% match minimum. Our match that we are projecting to be is in-kind labor with the Department of Community and Economic Development would be $31,810.32. Supplies would be $3,318.75. And as we previously requested, if we could receive $25,000 in county funds, that would give a $60,129 and $1.97 match for the $100,000 grant that we're asking for. I have a spreadsheet with expenses if you'd like to look at that. But what we are doing, we're requesting a vote to approve the resolution 2022-02, authorizing the submission of the grant application to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development.
Okay, can I have a motion on the resolution?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second it. And this is so that we get funded to help change the zoning and
Update.
some of the ordinances.
It's basically to update our zoning rules.
And South.
So we talked, Commissioner, you've mentioned often how having zoning ordinances for our municipal zoning partners who participate with the county, that makes it easy for developers to come in and know where they can invest, and also some of the changes that we've made over the years at the initiation of the zoning department, so that we make more areas attractive to business and to investment. That's part of our goal here, is to, maybe, Mr. Haas, you could give some examples of how the zoning ordinance as it currently exists seems to be a little outdated.
Okay, just to say, to develop a region in the resource conservation area. We have minimum lot sizes, that's in one section of the ordinance. We have developmental standards, such as setbacks for the roads, for different roads, in another section. Okay, and basically all the sections that require, to be addressed are in various sections of the book. Numerous zoning ordinances, and this is what I've found through doing reviews for our non-partner planning municipalities, is that the way some of the ordinances are set up, everything is on one page. Okay. Yes, you still have definitions, you still have the actual ordinances, sub-ordinances in the manual itself, but the requirements are on one page, reference to those, without going through all the pages of a 249-page document. Okay. It will make things easier for developers to understand, and it will also decrease the time necessary to process these, because as they see it's easier to understand, they're going to submit a more complete and thorough land development proposal to us.
And Commissioner, what it does also is, first of all, it decreases the cost to the applicant. Instead of having to pay an attorney to go through a 250-page document, the applicant may actually on their own be able to initiate it. And then the other thing is that can you imagine getting before the zoning hearing board and you think that you've met all the marks, and then all of a sudden someone says, yeah, but on page 130 you forgot that you have to have bumper guards or something, so it's really an effort to try to bring us up to the 21st century. Is that what we're in there? Yeah.
No, I totally agree. Our biggest complaint, especially on smaller projects, is how can such a small project be held up at the county level for so long? And you blame the county. Sometimes they're justified, and sometimes they're not, because there's something that was missing. And so we have to do a better job. And I think if we had a system in which all entities, combined requirements, would make the process so much smoother. From DEP, EPA, you name it, because depending on the project, it's there's a lot of different requirements. So I applaud you for tackling this. All I can say is I just would like to clean up our little part of it, so our developers are ready to go. We're just building a home. Doesn't matter. So, thanks.
Yeah, no, Mr. Haas, thank you, and Ms. Rossman for taking the initiative to do this. This is not something that it had to be done, but you took the initiative to undertake it, and that's good. And to find state funding for half of it. That's even better.
We hope.
Motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All fair side. Carried.
Commissioner Conley?
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I wanna comment on, over the holiday weekend, I received a call from a constituent who spoke about an incident of, I don't know what you would call it, but there were racial epithets cast at a delivery person, a Chinese delivery person who some three individuals who appeared to act as though they were going to rob the person. Then when he got in his car, hurled, you call them racial epithets, or you would call them ethnic epithets? And this is really wrong, and it's wrong whether it happens with anybody in our community, whether they're Italian, Jewish, Black, Chinese, whatever. And the reason I'm raising it today is because I really think it's important for us as a community to cut off intolerance as soon as it happens, so that it doesn't have an opportunity to take root and grow. And I think that all of us need to recognize that, you know, what's said to that person, in this case it was, you know, go back to China, is really of concern to us. And it should be of concern because it's raising specters of things getting out of hand. And we don't want that kind of intolerance in our community. So I hope that we could just try to become more aware of it and call it out. You know, you don't end prejudice on a massive scale by making statements like I'm making right now. You end it when you're in the company of someone and they say to you, oh, they use a racial epithet or they do that. You have to, on a one-by-one basis, call them out. You know, it's interesting that we're coming up on Martin Luther King's birthday in a couple of weeks here, and we need to be aware of this and to I think as individuals realize that it's not who we want to be as a community. So I hope that we can find it in ourselves to do that, and then also to do, you know, these are crimes. When you engage in activity that is consistent with a hate crime, it's a violation of the law. Whether you're doing something like, you know, if you rob someone and you shout racial epithets, you've committed a federal offense, I believe. I could be wrong. The sheriff can correct me, but I think I'm probably correct on this. So anyway, it's of particular concern with the Asian Chinese community right now because some things have been reported in the newspaper where it appears people are targeting them. You know, it's oftentimes when we see at the national level in our news things being directed against certain groups that we see things bearing down at the local level. So I hope that we can just not let this go unnoticed.
I agree with your comments, Commissioner. You know, it goes back to my prayer. I pray for unity in our community. We're all different, but we're all created in the image of God. We're all equal in His eyes, and we should have. There's no place for hatred. It's a condition of the heart, and until that person's heart changes, you're not going to have that person change. So we have to call out those isolated incidences and hold those people accountable, because there's no race, gender, sex should have ever fear for violence, and it's zero tolerance. We have to make sure that we stand behind our police and stand behind these victims. That doesn't happen on more than once. You know, there's one time's too many.
Yeah.
And for what that individual went through, the fear that he must have felt is unexcusable. And you're absolutely right. We can't tolerate this in our community, let alone anywhere. So we pray that these incidences don't manifest, and that we can live in unity and to respect each other's thoughts and who we are as a person.
You know, I think that if we had heard that, that 3 men had surrounded a woman's car and were calling her, derogatory terms and appeared to have a gun and stuff, we would be outraged. That they would, I think this is what you're talking about, Commissioner. We would be outraged. We
Yeah.
need to have that same outrage when it happens, regardless of.
Shouldn't happen to anybody.
Shouldn't happen to anybody. That's exactly right.
Okay, Commissioner, you have anything? Okay, public comment?
I don't get excited, I'll be short. First of all, I thank the commissioners for the action with the personnel. I've never had so many personnel issues to manage at one time in the 12 years that I've been here. And I appreciate the ability to work with the commissioner's office with, we won't get into the details, but with the position, the transfer position, and working together to make that happen. I wanted to comment about what first I comment about the insensitivity that we see. The world's just become very insensitive. It goes to, we've talked about this before, it goes to your upbringing as a child, how you are disciplined by your parents, how you're nurtured by your parents in many cases. You know, I don't know the statistics on single mothers, but it's got to be astronomical. We all grew up with friends who weren't white. We all had friends who were minorities. Never ever, in growing up, never even thought about it. Never even thought about one of my classmates as being Asian American or black. You didn't. You know, if there was a fight, it was over a girl. I mean, that's how it was back then. It was over, if you had a fight in high school, it was because of a girl. And when the fight was over, the guy that won, and the next day you all went to school. The world's different today. The insensitivity, the expectations of some people, those that believe they have entitlements, you know, we see that everywhere. And then you add it all up, and it comes down to the respect that is so difficult to come by. I can tell you, in my 12 years in that courthouse, it's incredible what I see in a lack of respect. You know, who don't take their hats off in the courtroom, who chew gum, who do the things that you would never ever think about, and then challenge whoever says don't do it. And it all adds up to what we're talking about today with respect to the individual who you're referring to, Commissioner. And what I'll do is, if I reach out to her, it'll obviously be a primary law enforcement issue, but I'll reach out to her and know her very well. She's a very good friend, and see if we can't direct her that way. So I found with interest Maya's comments and Commissioner's comments about the funding. Back in 2011, I think 2011, we had the $5 fee for LTCs. Were you in the House in 2011? I got a call from him.
Yeah, he reduced it, right?
I got a call from Commissioner Revito. He said, Sheriff, we got this bill, the Sunshine's going to lose, we're going to lose $5 in the county for the LTC, because the LTC was a $25 fee. It was $19 to the county, $1 to the state police, and $5 for what was then the new and improved electronic and automatic licensing.
Tell the public what LTC is.
License to carry. It's what we used to call a gun permit. And Commissioner Rubito was on the floor and it was being debated. We lost that. A law that's enacted by Sunshine statute, clarify if I'm wrong, Commissioner, is if it's not reenacted after a period of time, it dies. And it didn't pass. And we lost $5 a license And I just did the numbers. If we average 3,000, and I mentioned to you, we almost did 5,000 this past year. If we did 3,011 years, or 33,000 licenses, that's $165,000 that we lost, just in my office, in this large county operation. $165,000 that we lost, probably more, because we really spiked the last couple of years with LTCs. And it wasn't a tax. It was attached to the license so we could continue. We used that money. We used that money to help staff the position. We used that money to buy equipment. And it disappeared. Now, that's the downside. We never got it back. The upside is, you've heard me beat my drum regarding the PCCD funding and losing funding to train officers, to train deputies for equipment and training, and all of our updates. The surcharge law passed last year, actually passed I think in 2020, and we have just begun to see the reimbursements starting to come in. We have received a couple of checks in the past 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. That deficit, it's interesting. The state's required to fund us the surcharge and fund us through the training that we don't have to pay out of county. But it doesn't say when. It just says required to fund us. And their loophole at PCCD was, well, we're required to fund you, but there's no timeline. So we have sat for 5, 6, 7 years. That fund that they owe us, and they're starting to slowly reimburse us, I think we got like a $12 check. That fund that's owed the county through our training needs, sending deputies to the academy for the 5 months that they go, is between $150,000 and $175,000. So if you take that fund and you take the sunshine law that we lost, and you add the two together, you're talking $250,000 just in the sheriff's office. Harrisburg does us no favors. They just continue to not help us at the level we need to help. And it makes your job all that much more difficult. Our job as your leaders out here in the field to do more with less. And it's really unfortunate. I wanted to just update you on those 2 points.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We want to express our condolences to, we had Commissioner Bill Ames from Lebanon County passed last week. And we want to express our condolences to Bill's family. And the entire Lebanon County is a huge loss. I had the opportunity to share lunch with Bill. I met him in November down at CCAP. And once you met Bill, the director was with me. He made an impression on you. You never, he was a larger than life type personality. And just the short time we had lunch with him, you know where he stood on every issue. He was no gray area. He was straightforward and told like it was. And I'm sure Lebanon County is going to sorely miss him. We want to express our condolences and our prayers to his family.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything from the public? Online?
Yes, a few comments online. Thomas Adams, these are his comments. Good morning and Happy New Year. As a very concerned citizen of the direction of our country because of its ignorance of our history and the lack of Christian involvement in our governance, I will take this opportunity to share a quote from Noah Webster, known as the schoolmaster to America. All of the miseries and evils which men suffer from, vice, crime, ambition, injustice, oppression, slavery, and war, proceed from them. Despising or neglecting the precepts contained in the Bible, our pastors and churches must get involved and ignore all attempts to be silenced and stand on our state and federal constitutions. not living in fear, to speak up and speak out against wickedness, and speak up and speak out for righteousness in accordance to the great book of law, the Holy Bible.
Any other comments?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
One more.
Okay. Is this from him?
Yes.
Okay.
To insist on the rule of just and proper laws, to disregard unjust mandates and declarations made by unfettered government officials, including the judiciary at every level. We must be willing to.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Adams, for your comments. Okay, at this time, we will be adjourned. We complete our agenda. And we'll meet again on Tuesday, January 11th at 10 a.m. right here in this room. Have a good week, everyone. Thank you.
I was watching MSNBC.
They're coming back there.
Yeah.
Come.
Yeah. Heard that last night.
You wonder why.
Another source. I heard you, I had another source last night.
How are you? I'm all right, haven't seen you in a while. I heard that you had left Sullivan, didn't know where you landed.